Technical difficulties. What would life be without them? Yeah, I can hear you. Anyways, I'm gonna go. I'm recording.
I am
Um,
now.
I'm also eating popcorn because you're about to tell me about how cool The Last of Us is. And hey, everyone, this is Jetpack Swords, a casual games podcast where we talk about games, or in this case, we're going to talk about a TV show made on a game, The Last of Us from HBO. There's only been one episode, is that right? Oh, I'm Greg.
Yes,
I'm
came
joined by
out.
James. Normally, we'd be joined by
Hello.
Packy. Packy may or may not join us. We shall see. It's looking like a no. And so, James, I am looking forward to hear all about The Last of Us show because I do not have HBO Max at the moment. So I'm going to live vicariously through you.
Okay. Um, yeah, its first episode came out Sunday. It's going to air on Sundays, I think at like 9 p.m. from here on out. I don't know how many episodes they've got planned. Yeah, first episode came out. And just fair warning, I'm a huge fan of The Last of Us, and beyond that of Naughty Dog, the developer of The Last of Us and other games as well. But yeah, it's really good. It was a really good first episode. It felt like the game while still being a little different. You know, they're doing their own thing a little bit. But yeah, it's really, really good. Which, for anybody who does not know, it's, you know, like Greg said, made by HBO. I think the creator of the Chernobyl series is also the same guy who's working on this. So it's got like him. And if you haven't seen Chernobyl, it's super good too. It's got Neil Druckmann, who is like the lead developer for, or like the story developer
Really?
for Last of Us 1 and 2 from Naughty Dog. And he's like co-created the show with Craig, who's the Chernobyl guy. I can't remember his last name.
That's
It has,
definitely a positive sign.
oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. And obviously it helps too. Naughty Dog makes very cinematic games, or at least within the last 15 years has. And of all kinds of games to translate over, those are probably like the easiest because like they're basically movies to begin with. Or at least you would think so, because the Uncharted movie should have been good and it wasn't. So I don't know. But yeah, the show
So
also,
actually, while you mentioned that, before you go on, there was one
yeah,
part of the Uncharted movie that I just loved so much, which is the Nolan North cameo in the movie. It
I,
made me so
I
happy.
haven't even
Like
seen it
that moment
because
alone
it just
was
looked
almost made
bad.
up for it.
It looked
I mean,
like a
it
bunch of
was
stitched together parts of the games, but with no cohesion. And also, the casting is way wrong in that movie. Unlike
oh,
Last of Us,
absolutely,
which is
yeah,
well cast.
yeah,
um,
no, for
Pe-
sure. Like
Pedro,
movies, just like it's just generic action movie, but the
yeah,
Nolan North cameo made it. I
I'm
was
sure
very
it was
pleased to see it.
probably the best part of the movie because Nolan North is good. But yeah, Last of Us. Pedro Pascal plays Joel, the main character. You've got, I can't remember her name, but a girl who plays Ellie, and she's pretty good. She doesn't really, in my opinion, look like Ellie, but she like has the attitude of Ellie so far in the first episode at least. So, like that's, you
No,
know,
it's
that
probably more
matters.
important too.
Um, they have at least one, if not a couple, of the people from the game doing like their own characters, which is really cool. I know specifically Marlene, who you meet in the beginning of the first game. It's her like voice actor is actually like acting her in the show, and I mean she's great. Tommy, Joel's brother. I don't know if it's the same guy, but if it's not the same guy, they made him sound exactly like Tommy from the game. It is the most perfect recreation of Tommy's voice. Um, but yeah, it's first episode's 90 minutes, so it's pretty long as far as TV episodes go, and it's super, super
Wow, yeah.
good. Like great effects, fantastic acting. And like I said, definitely a couple relatively minor changes, just like thematically a little bit, and like obviously like story beat wise from the game. But it's really good. So yeah, highly recommend. Obviously, it's only the first episode, but I mean, even that, like if that was like a short film, just adaptation, like it would be good as it is, like
I
right
was gonna
now.
say
So
90 minutes is like that's pretty long, right? Like
yeah. Oh, it has the guy who did
it
the
still would have been
music
nice
too.
if
Oh my god,
oh
they got
yeah.
everybody.
No, that sounds really it sounds like a very good compromise of being true to the source material and not at the same time,
Yeah,
right?
I would
Like
not
from
say it's
what
a
you've said.
copy. It's close, but it's
Exactly.
not a
Right.
straight
Yeah.
rip of it. It's definitely got some of its own changes. And even me, again, who is a like die hard I've got that first game memorized. I used to listen to the first game soundtrack literally on repeat all the time. Like, even me who's, obsessed with that universe in the first game and the second game, which I've played less, but because it's just like way more emotionally like difficult to get through. It's just a much longer, denser game. But yeah, like even me who like loves it, like I can say that the show is really good. So
have they shown the clickers yet in the first episode or no?
No. They've shown them in like the trailers leading up to obviously the release of the show, but the first episode does not have it yet because it honestly is not very far into the game for what they cover.
Okay.
But I mean, the trailers showed a couple clickers, and I mean, they look incredible from like just even like by like movie standards, they look really good. So we'll see how they look like in action. Like how much screen time they get, because obviously that can make or break it. They do show the runners, which are the first stage infected, obviously, because those you see those pretty early on in the game, and the runners they're pretty scary. They're definitely, again, this is like super nitty gritty, like doesn't matter. But as someone who's like played both games, like loves both games, they definitely feel more like the runners from the second game, where they are a lot faster and a lot more aggressive. But it's really good. Just like I said, really good show.
That'll probably have to be one of the first things we watch when we eventually resubscribe to HBO Max.
I can recommend
do what most people do and bum it off to someone else.
True Detective season 1, some of the best television ever.
It's true, yeah. True Detective. I'm punny. I'm so punny. But so yeah, I'll be interested to hear more about it as as it continues. Coming out. I don't. It's obviously going to be up to you if you want to, talk about it every week or just save it till the end or whatever.
Yeah, we'll just see.
Yeah, I mean, next week we should have a lot to talk about with the
Xbox, showcase.
Xbox Developer Direct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
And semi-notably, they so across the tech industry as a whole, like all the big players have been laying off a bunch of people because they overhired. And because, they make billions of dollars, but they have to make, $1 billion plus $1. That's the real reason. Sorry.
Of course.
Because it's not like they're losing money, right? Like, no. It's not like Microsoft is in the negative, right? Like, they're still making. No way. It's just, no, it's literally just they overhired, and so they can't meet their expectation, even though they could totally afford to continue paying those people. But inevitably, obviously, some of those are, in the Xbox division, and that includes Bethesda and 343, and and so that's always sad to hear about people losing their jobs, especially, in general or in games specifically, regardless. But so yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that has any notable impact on anything. Right, like my suspicion is obviously probably not, but like who knows? Maybe something gets pushed back as a result, or something of the sort. One rumor was that 343 in particularly was hit hard in the campaign division. So like their campaign team got axed pretty hard. And so the rumored Halo Infinite campaign DLC maybe won't come, or who knows? Obviously no one knows anything.
That game just can't catch a break.
It's just doomed. It's so fucking rough. Which actually, like, I'll probably play some this week. I played some last week, had a blast playing the multiplayer, and probably play some more this week for the event. It's a nice, like, ever since they made the changes for the like the progression changes, which they're still working on more, but like ever since they made the first round of batches, where it's just so easy because you can just hop on and play a few games. And like I did the entire like weekly whatever chain, every fucking game has their own weekly fucking missions or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I did it for Infinite in like an hour and 15 minutes.
Oh shit.
The entire week's worth of I was like, this is fucking great. Right? Like it was because that's the amount I want to play, right? Like I want to hop on and just like play a little bit and just like have some fun. And it was like the perfect amount. And the fact that I was still able to complete that in such a short amount of time was really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that, though, I mentioned I was playing Metro Exodus, and I have completed Metro Exodus.
Nice.
And I've completed one of the DLCs for it as well. It is good. I had tried to play one of the previous ones and I couldn't get into it. I don't
First one's
remember
hard
exactly
for sure.
why. It was probably a clunky thing. Is
Yeah.
probably why I couldn't get into it.
First one's a little clunky.
Then yeah, that's almost certainly what it was.
To say Last Light was much better, which was the second one, and then I own Exodus, but I've not played it yet. But I've heard good things about it, either from you obviously, but just in general. So
yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I definitely enjoyed it. Like it's not like a top tier game in my opinion, right? Like it's not like the best game ever or anything like that.
AA game.
Yeah. Well, but even still, if I like think back, like obviously, like a few months ago, I beat Plague Tale Requiem, and like if I had to put the two up against each other, like Plague Tale Requiem was just a much better game.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, like yeah, I'm really glad I played Metro Exodus, and like maybe I'll have to go give Last Light a try if you say it's
I think Last Light's
a little smoother than the first one. The first DLC I did was also really good. It was like it was a perfect way to do DLC, right? Because no spoilers or anything, obviously, right? But like Exodus, you are leaving, and as part of that journey or whatever, you encounter some people. And then obviously during the main campaign, there are all the hints and the audio tapes and the notes that kind of give you a little bit of whatever. And then the DLC obviously just like filled in like a section there. And it was like a nice emotional touch on it as well. And so like it just gave you a little more backstory to like something that you encountered, because it was a flashback essentially was the DLC.
Is that the Sam's story? Is that what it's called?
No, so that was Two Kernels. So I haven't played Sam's Story yet.
Sam's Story is the other one. Okay.
And I really enjoyed Two Kernels. Also, it was really short, and I really appreciate that.
That's nice for sure.
Like, apparently Sam's Story is pretty long, and so I'm gonna do it because it sounds interesting. But I appreciated the fact that like the Two Kernels was like it took me like an hour and a half or 2 hours or something. Like it was no time at all, and like yeah, it literally just like flashback filled in a gap of like something that you encountered the remnants of essentially, and showed you how that came to be, with a nice like emotional tie-in to like the main characters that you played with. And so it's very good.
Is it Artyom that's the main character?
Artyom is the main character, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then his two, I was just curious.
Yeah, and his wife Anna, and then her dad Colonel something.
Second game maybe, I can't remember.
Yeah, no, it was good. Like I appreciate the fact that like also if I compare this to like The Witcher 3 for example, right? Which is they're so different. They're so unbelievably different. They couldn't be more different games, right? But I will say that like coming from that and the frustrations I had there into this, it was like there was some open world. And the thing is, it was the right amount to the point where like I did about half of the optional stuff on the map, right? Like there's one zone I remember completing entirely, like going to every little question mark on the map. And then for the most part, I did like maybe one other. And so that was perfect. It was like the perfect amount of like extra stuff to not be overwhelming and not like distract or anything like that. And then also the biggest thing is like you can never be underleveled in that game, right? Like the game doesn't have levels, right? So it's not like you're not penalized for not doing any of the stuff, which it definitely felt like in The Witcher 3, right? Like it seriously felt like you were being penalized for not doing side missions just because they just have the very standard RPG level system and you are just underleveled is what it was. And so that was a very nice breath of fresh air coming from The Witcher 3 into Metro Exodus. It was exactly what I was looking for, and so I was really pleased.
It's good.
But so what about you? Besides watching The Last of Us, what have you been playing?
I reinstalled Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I've been enjoying that, working my way through more of its content.
Did you get Ragnarok, or are you just playing it in general?
I did buy Ragnarok because it was on sale, and I still am going through that 150 random free dollars I had on my Xbox, so I still have like 40 of
those don't expire. You can save them.
So I bought Ragnarok, but I have obviously not played it yet. I'm working through. That game has 3 main expansions. It's got an Ireland one, a France, like Frankish one, and then it's got the Ragnarok one. And I'm almost done with the Ireland one. I still have a ton of the just like the vanilla base game to do, like the whole northern part of England, and then I've got the Frankish one, and then I've got Ragnarok, which I really enjoy the game. Like I said, I think it's my second favorite behind Origins, with Odyssey being my least favorite. Not like that it's bad, but my least favorite of like the modern 3 games. But like Valhalla,
it's
just
so
like
long.
It is super bloated.
So good. It's so good, but so long.
Well, what I appreciate about Valhalla, at least, which I did not feel this way in Odyssey, is a lot of the side content you can literally do so quickly. It's like very rarely is it like a quest. It's like you walk up and there's like some stones that you have to stack into a cairn, and like that's it. Like you can do it in like 10 seconds. And like if you want to engage with that stuff, you can. You don't have to. The game doesn't really like penalize you for it. Like you get skill points for doing a lot of the side stuff, but like the game has so much flexibility in terms of accessibility and like how you can, like, there are multiple settings for how much damage you deal, how much damage you take, how much health you have. Like there's so many settings for difficulty that like you literally don't need to be like power leveled or anything at all. And so like one, I think the game is gorgeous. So just like riding the horse around and like you get up on a hilltop in Ireland somewhere and there's like a quick little.
I mean, I hate horses, but yes.
That game's horse. Like,
sorry, I love horses. I hate horses in games.
No, the Assassin's Creed horses are so chill compared to like other. Like I love Red Dead 2. I definitely understand some of the issues people have with it. I don't think they're issues to me. They just add more to the game's depth and like interest. The Assassin's Creed horses are like barely like even like characters. It's just a thing that you get on and you move faster, and it's so easy to call them. They don't like you don't have to like protect them. They're just it's a button press and you're faster all of a sudden. It's so much easier, and also. Assassin's Creed has a thing where if you're on a road, you can tell the horse to just follow the road and you don't have to do anything. And
a game that doesn't have that needs to add. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
It's like, thankfully, it's really common. It's super common.
It's getting more common for sure. And like I think it's like Ubisoft makes.
I mean, I was going to say just Red Dead, Assassin's Creed, and The Witcher 3, all 3 things we talked about recently, all have that. Right? Thank God. Because it would be.
I mean, of those ones,
I wouldn't even give them a chance.
Is literally the most hands off. You press a button, you can set the controller down and go like make popcorn or get a drink or something. Like the other games, you still kind of have to manage it. Like even when it's auto.
Yeah,
running,
I recall like Red Dead. Did you have to like keep pressing the button or something? I can't remember.
Red Dead, you like still have to kind of manage it. From what I remember,
Witcher, it won't follow the path. Like you have to like when you come to the fork in the road, you have to like. Go the right direction at the fork in the road. Like it'll follow the road, but not to where you want to go.
Assassin's Creed does such a good job with it, where it's like I said, like I know Ubisoft gets a lot of shit for making a lot of like samey games, but like I still think they make at baseline good products overall. Like they may not be fantastic. Some of them are, some of them aren't. But like I think Valhalla's fantastic. Like it's a little much sometimes, but it's not.
It's just too long. That's
too
my
long.
Only, like
I think
that is my only complaint with that game. It is too long
for sure. I think the side content is way more manageable and it's way more optional than something like Witcher, for example, or like most RPGs. And like the combat is relatively fun.
And the other problem I have with it is I was going to say there's a couple. So my issue isn't even with the total amount of content. I mean, my issue is also with the total amount of content. Like, just trim it fucking back, like, please. Mm-hmm. But my other issue with that game, remembering now, is there were main story campaign because the base premise of the base game is you go to this region and then you help the leader of the region do whatever the fuck they need to do, and then they're your ally, and then you build up. You do that in every region, and then you go to the final one, and you have whatever, right?
Yeah.
There were a couple of those where I was like. These feel like the main quest regions is like these feel like they should be secondary ones, and that was really my issue. Is it like it's not even just like total content is too much, but also the main content is too much, and they should have just taken some of the main content and made it optional. And like honestly, that would have made me a lot happier. I will say the optional content in in the dream state or whatever. I don't mean. Is it Valhalla? Are you in Valhalla in the dream state?
You're in Asgard.
Asgard. Thank you. Yeah. I love that. I love that optional content.
It's funny because I've barely played a lot of that because I found it so tedious.
I mean, it was. And don't get me wrong.
Germanic mythology. Like, I adore that stuff, which is why, like, I'm gonna try it again, because obviously I got the Ragnarok expansion for cheap, but, like,
Yeah.
I should love that, because it's, like, a really cool fantasy Assassin's Creed combo thing, which I usually like, but, man, just, like, the enemies there were, like, the most spongy enemies, and, like, you had to traverse so far.
The
Oh
traversal there was really rough. It was much rougher
I'm
than
hoping
the
Ragnarok
the normal
specifically
world.
makes it better, because it's supposed to be its own, like, separate thing. So I'm hoping with the multiple quality of life improvements that game has gotten since it originally came out, because Ragnarok came out, like, very recently. I'm hoping it's very good. So it looks cool. So
It does look cool. Yeah, it definitely does. And like, I mean, that story too of Ivar, can't remember. Good story. Yeah,
yeah,
no, for
I
sure.
like Ivar
Like
as a character.
Sigurd and
Mhm.
I played as female
Mhm.
Ivar, and it was good. Voice actress did a great job. I'm curious, did you do male or female?
So I did female in Odyssey, because Cassandra is amazing. Like, I think she's a way better hero than Alexandrius, or whatever his name is. And then I did male Ivor in this one, who I also think does, like, a really good job, like, voice acting and stuff. So
Do you ever like as you're starting one of those games, like go online and just be like, which voice actor did a better job, so I know
I don't
which to play?
intentionally, but you just kind of absorb that information sometimes if you're, like, looking, like, into the community of the
I have
games.
explicitly done that. I have very
Sometimes you have to.
explicitly done that.
But I definitely felt in Odyssey that the game, it made more sense for the brother character to be the the villain that you, like, track down, than for her to be the villain. So I was like, I'm definitely gonna play Cassandra. That makes more sense. And then I just felt Ivor made more sense as, like, the main Viking character than playing as the female Ivor. So I don't know.
That's fair. All right. Well, I've got a WoW raid to get to. And so this is good though, because yeah, we're sticking to our every other week alternating length. And so yeah, I'm curious to hear about once you finally get to it, the Ragnarok expansion. I'm curious to hear how all that plays out. And I look forward to talking to you about the developer direct next week. And
I hope it's
hopefully
good.
Packy will be here, but I think the chances of Packy being here next week are even lower
I
than the
think
chances
so.
of him being
That's how he
here
made it
today.
sound last week.
Yeah, I think this week was like work sucks, and then next week is literally just like I have a conflict and I literally cannot make it. So, yeah. All right, but I look forward to talking about it anyways because I hope, fingers crossed. Obviously, who knows? I hope we'll see some good stuff about some new games this year, and
Yeah.
probably Starfield, Forza, et cetera, et cetera.
Starfield's they actually said, like, I saw right after we did our episode last week, Starfield's getting its own separate thing later on. Soon, but later
that's because
on.
that is the thing, right? So that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
That gets its own thing. So
Mhm.
okay, interesting. That is kind of interesting because that really seems to be like the thing from them
I
this year,
mean, it's
Starfield. Like
Bethesda's
that's the thing everyone's
first,
excited for.
new IP in a very long time, so yeah, I think it's a big
And
deal.
it's their first new IP, and it's their first full game since the acquisition, I think. Which obviously it's been in development long before the acquisition.
All the ads say 25 years in the making, so maybe.
Well, that's bullshit, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm
They
sure
were
Todd
like,
Howard
yeah,
had it, like,
they
on
were like,
some
yeah,
scratch
25 years
paper
in the
for
making. When we were
25
making
years.
Fallout, we considered space. Like, that's probably what they mean by that. But yeah, so that's interesting that it's not part of the main stuff next week. But yeah, so all right, catch you then. And by the way, I'm sure you already know, but you do have to basically watch it live because it is literally Wednesday, the day that we record.
Oh, don't worry, I'll watch it.
All right, good. All right, see you, James.
See ya.
Thanks for chatting. Stop recording. Let me make the folder for you.